There are stories that connect us to ourselves and to each other. These stories reveal who we are and show us the many vivid colors of our truth. Welcome to Soul Wanderings, where we raise spiritual awareness and foster connections through these shared stories and personal experiences. Now, exclusively on KGRA Digital Broadcasting, your hosts, AJ and Natalie.
Hello, I am AJ.
And I'm Natalie.
And we're your hosts of Soul Wanderings, heard live on KGRA Digital Broadcasting every Wednesday night, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. I love wandering.
Me too.
It's so much fun. So grateful for the opportunity to be here with you all this evening. I don't know if you received the memo, but Facebook is not working for us this evening. So I hope you're joining us on Rumble or over at live.kgradb.com.
That gives him a chance to go over to live
Yes,
KGRA.
please do.
Give that platform. It may be more. That's interesting because Facebook had a big to do on Tuesday. I guess there was this big disruption on Facebook.
Oh, I tried to log in a few times and it was asking for security, this and that. I'm like, okay, I never have to do this. What is going on? But I think it's just the sign of the times in the beginning of a lot of things.
Oh my. Yeah. You feel the shaky of the edges of stuff falling.
Things are definitely taking place, and it's not just about the energy, right?
Right.
Electronics and people, I mean, it's all energy, but there are things definitely shifting, and game pieces, if you will, we'll just use that analogy, are shifting into their next move in the grand big scheme of things, right? With all the players, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
So here we are. If we haven't told you before to sit down, buckle up, and keep your hands and feet in the car at all times, we're telling you now. Things are about to get wild.
Yes.
And you thought they were wild already?
I've been using this phrase with the various groups for my clients, and instead of saying, because times you want to get into and you're like, it's too much, I can't take anymore. There's this verbiage, I can't do it anymore. I can't, and I'm not a fan for that because it's not sustainable. If that's what you say all the time, then you will break. I mean, that's just every cell of our bodies is always listening. So there's this aspect of really understanding that.
Yeah.
So I say it's a lot.
It is. I say that all the time.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
That's
a
validation of what is going on. 2024 is a lot. There are so many aspects of society and the globe and all things that are just being stretched. And I don't even know if there's enough words. Can't quite find the words to encompass all the different things that I've listened to that talk about it, but in a lot of different forums and across the gamut, you get this thread that says that there's so much information coming out. So there's this lot of discovery, a lot of truths being revealed. One time I heard that's what the apocalypse means. Is or not? It's not true. That wasn't it. It was about the age of Aquarian. Is the age of revealing, where the truths are being shown light. So so much is coming out.
I feel like that's already taking place. That already has been taking place. But this year specifically,
I was like, yes.
I think it will be more significant.
I think we'll be surprised. So I'm definitely putting my garden in this year. I'm just saying. I've heard that from multiple platforms. Grow your own food if you can. Just grow whatever you can. Just to supplement. Just to have a little calories if you need. Grow things that you want. So I am like, okay, my garden's going back in.
I've meant to do a garden the last 2 years. I won't be doing it this year.
I'll be feeding you from mine. That'll be all right. I'll do it for you.
I definitely will do an herb garden again.
Oh, that's
been
important.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the time and energy it takes to do a full garden with the time limited availability that I have and
Oh, yeah.
energy, I'm like, no, we're good. I don't buy groceries or vegetables from the grocery store either.
Yeah.
I don't trust them.
Mine will be pesticides free because I just don't
Right.
put
That's what I'm saying.
it's
Home
like
gardens where it's
yeah.
at. The vegetables at the store aren't even real.
I know, it's just I don't
They
really
have no nutritional value. I don't eat them.
I do a few different things, but not generally like the typical I don't even know what tomatoes are. This is one thing that it's after you grow your homegrown tomatoes, there is
Mhm.
just nothing about hothouse tomatoes that taste
Yeah.
anything like
No.
a garden tomato.
Right. I agree. My mom has a beautiful garden,
Oh.
and every time I go over, she's like, "You want some tomatoes?" I'm like, "Why are you asking?" "Yes, please."
Is it rhetorical?
Speaking of parents, I have to give a shout out. Tomorrow is my dad's birthday. Happy
Oh.
birthday to my daddy-o. He's probably the only family member who listens to the show,
What?
and he's so proud.
Oh.
I just it's just sweet of him to support me that way, so I have to say happy
Yes,
birthday to
happy
my
birthday
dad.
to him.
Yay,
He's a
I love
good
her.
man.
Yeah, he's alright. I'll keep him. He's cute. He's cute.
He
If boys are
is.
cute, him is cute.
Oh, yes, and he has quite the array of stories. Had the opportunity to hear lots of his
I've
stories.
had the
It's been great.
opportunity to hear them on repeat.
I think it's different if it's your dad or if it's me knowing your dad.
He has a lot of stories. He has done a lot of things
Yes.
and yeah, yay for dads and storytelling,
Mhm.
whether they're real or not.
I
I
was
just have to say that because I still don't believe he danced with, oh my gosh, what's her name? I just drew a blank. I just drew a blank. Tanya Tucker. And
What?
I was like, "No, you
Maybe.
did not." He's like, "I did. I really did."
What?
I'm like, "I don't know about that one,
Well,
dad, but"
maybe, you know?
but we used to listen to her a lot growing up.
Oh, she makes good music.
That's good. Oh, yay. I see you guys are starting to come into the Rumble page. Awesome. Okay, keep them coming. Keep them coming.
It's good. Good to have the discussion groups going on.
Yeah, so what has been a big thing that you have, uh I don't wanna say learned, but what growth experience have you had this past week?
So it's interesting. I've been I purchased some course material, so I just continue with my dialogue about human design because it just is such an important aspect and
Love it.
I'm continuing education, so I continue. So I bought a bunch of course material, and I was listening to some today, and this isn't specific to human design, but human design talks about the form principle, and we live in a world of form. Even if you look at our cellular structure or like a honeycomb of a bee or the cells in a tree, and
Mm.
there's just this form that underlies all of this material plane. And so this is the idea. So to answer your question, the framework, the foundation, life is built on logic and it is lived out through the abstract experience.
Mm.
So we have this logical foundation and it gives us some sense of stability, but it doesn't really provide stability because then we live life and life is abstract. It's not according to some script. It's in its own flow
Mm.
and experience doesn't go like a logic thing. And it's all infused with emotional energy too, the abstract and the
Mhm.
experience. So that was a profound statement to me that says that the foundation it's built on logic and lived out in an abstract way. And to me, that really feeds into what I as, in my journey of being this practical person in a consciousness field or this energy healing sort of
Mhm.
field. I've always been this, I'm very practical. And I would remind my conscious friends, I'd say, that's great. You're having a human experience, and the whole point of being in a body is to be human. That's the whole point of it. It
Mhm.
isn't to come to this body and then go escape to spirit again.
Yeah. It sounds nice, but
I know. My people, they're like, "Can I just go be in the ethers?" And it's like, yes and no.
yeah, I say that on hard human days,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Because you but it's also avoidant. It's
But
also escaping.
there is part that this human experience whereas, it requires honestly, I think that's maybe why we built in a sleep factor is like the human experience sometimes needs an escape, like, not on permanent, but there's times where it's okay to just take a break,
Mhm.
or you might need a break from so it's
Mhm.
also important to have a balance of
Yeah,
it. It's not
absolutely.
it's this it's not to grind it out, grind it out, grind it out, and that's not
Mhm.
what I'm implying, but there's
Yeah.
part of that. And, the human is there's so much suffering. I had a
Oh.
heartbreaking conversation earlier this morning with someone that just knew loss, and I do a lot with suicide, and this one in particular was a suicide, and it's like, oh, my
Mm.
heart just hurts for
Yeah.
new loss, new struggle, new humanness that
Mhm.
that you have to go through.
You Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I just but I find the beauty in it. And
Oh,
I
for
know that in
sure.
my study of design, it has allowed me to see the magic in the mundane. There's so much magic in the mundane, but it's also easy to get lost in the mundane and
Mhm.
to feel like it's pointless, but it isn't. I say, I don't know what the
Yeah.
point is sometimes, but there's a point.
There is a point,
Imma keep
and
going.
we're not necessarily meant to know what that point is
I don't think so.
now.
Yeah.
I we that let's ask our guest tonight because 'cause we'll be talking
Yes.
about all of that coincidentally or not. I've noticed, an influx of people coming into the shop where they so let me step back a little bit. There's always a common theme with our customers and clients when they come into our space. And without seeing or knowing or talking or anything to each other, they all are going through very similar experiences in their own way,
Mhm.
right? It's neat because you'll see at the beginning of the week what the theme is going to be for the week.
Yeah.
And then they trickle in and it's the
Same.
same theme, different people, places, things, but the same thing. And lately the theme has been very continual as far as people who have been asleep, if you will, are
Yes.
starting to see
Ah,
things that
yeah.
they can't explain
Oh.
or feel things they don't have a, a definition for or um kind of like a spiritual crisis. A lot of
Oh,
people are. They're
oh.
they're 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 just second guessing everything that they've been taught and told and
Mhm.
known.
Yep.
And so they're coming in these crisis states, if you will, because some of them have been very heavy and they're just like, "Oh, I don't even know like who I am or what's going on in the world or everything I've been taught is a lie or whatever they're going through and it's just like you can't say anything to someone in that space.
No.
You just get to be with them.
Right.
So that on repeat,
Yeah, that's a lot.
it is a lot. But that's
Mhm.
what we're there for. So if you're in the local area, please visit vibesnow.com.
That's right. Come to visit.
Come and visit us.
We have several answers for lots of trouble people.
Yes, and not just answers, like, we give you the power to heal
Mhm.
yourself. We're not gonna do it for you, but we'll definitely hold space and be there to support you. But going back to that, like, it is a theme. There is something going on.
Yes.
People who have been, totally just living life, la da da, do to do, are now like, "Okay, where did I step off the train in what
Yeah.
land because nothing looks familiar to them.
Mm-mm.
And I feel I feel for those people. I
Yeah.
do. I just want to like, let me just hug you better. I wish it was that simple.
Oh, sure. When you're
But
discovering that everything that's not true. There's so much
yeah,
that is you're discovering that's like, oh, there's this lies over here, or this propaganda over here, or this. It's
right.
yeah.
And that also, but you talk about grief, and there's a level
Mm.
of grief
Oh
that
my
goes
goodness.
into that as well. Like grief does not mean you lost somebody you love or a job or a house. It also means like a sense of your reality that you knew it,
It's not funny, but
right?
it kind of is at the time. It's like, oh yes. And when the blinders come off and you're like, holy schmoly,
Yeah, what's
what
going
happened?
on?
It's like Alice in Wonderland. You fell through the looking glass.
Yeah. I never realized how powerful that show was until I was older. Right? You just love it because it's fun when you're young, but then you're
Oh,
like, "Oh, the deep programming in this show."
oh yeah.
All of Disney shows.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't support that propaganda, but that's it. Another topic for maybe another time.
Well, it's true. I had more of a profound experience when I read the book, Through the Looking Glass.
Mm.
There was really so much interwoven in that.
Mhm.
Um, and just to read the story and just go, "Oh, this nonsensical sort of." I mean, like, they quote the caterpillar that's like, "Which way do you wanna go?" "I don't know." "Well, then it doesn't matter which way you go, you'll get there."
And it's so true. There's
It's
so many
such a profound
sayings
truth.
there's so many sayings in there. You're like, "Oh, facts. Okay." I mean, come on. It's just wild. Like,
I think those things are good though in times because I can't remember when he wrote it, but so I've done some reach back and read some things that were written in the 1920s, and I feel that there's this resonance with this 2020s that was also like back in the 1920s, and I don't know
mhm,
really about further back than that, but there was this New Thought movement that was happening in the 1920s, and that the essence of what was building up in the 1920s as well. And so there's the other thing that even though we're going through it, there's a whole lot of this that there's nothing new under the sun. People have been through things this intense before, but most of the people alive really haven't. This is an intense time for. I mean, this isn't the 80s and 90s anymore. There is something radically different about the 2020s.
oh, it's been the last 4 years.
Yeah.
I don't know if we shifted timelines,
Maybe.
if we just, like, skipped some things.
I'm sure there's several shows that are in the KGRA catalog that
Mhm.
probably could explore lots of that topic.
Right, and some of our guests, definitely.
Yes.
And maybe even tonight we'll find out some of those
I am
answers.
looking
Our
forward
guest
to.
is very
Oh,
knowledgeable
yes.
in all of this, which is I love how we just talk at the beginning of the show
I know.
and the theme ends up being similar or
We don't even plan
exactly
this.
exactly what we're going to hear about. No, you can't make this stuff up. It
It's
just gets to be what it gets to be.
it does. In the
Mhm.
flow of things.
Yeah,
How about you? What have you come across?
come
Or
across.
or had in this last week? Have you been this week? What's been going on in your world?
Oh my goodness. Um, I love when you ask me this question.
I know you do.
um, you know, if I'm being completely authentic and vulnerable and transparent, I am struggling right now a little bit.
Mm,
And I know I'm always the happy, positive, go lucky, like, come on, we can do this. And I really do still feel that way, even though I'm having some challenges.
mm,
But my energy level is a little low. And so um,
mm.
I I'm doing that in having my energy a little low, everything just kind of feels a little off for me because I'm not my quote unquote normal self. I'm usually really optimistic and positive, and I still am, but also
There's that.
I also have like this energy within me right now because of some challenges I'm having physically. And
Mm.
so it's just I've been hyper aware
Ah,
of my thoughts to keep me from going dark, right? And to not tell myself a story that isn't true. Like all of the work that you learn along the way to
yeah,
keep you in a higher vibration so you feel better regardless of how you're feeling physically. Your mental ability stays strong. Emotions are high right now for sure.
yeah,
But right, we're being human and humans have physical issues.
yes.
And I have been fortunate because it has been my biggest teacher
Mm.
to have some pretty I wouldn't say serious, they're not life threatening at this point, but I have some setbacks. And so it just gives you a different perspective on what really matters and what I need to put as a priority and what I can let go. And I've been really um, taking inventory and working on getting clear. And also, when I say clear, that's in my thoughts and emotions, but also like, what does my future look like? And how can I shift things around
Right.
to make my life work better for me and not me work for my life?
I think that's beautiful for you.
Yeah, I mean,
I love that for you, as you would say to lots of people. I love that for you.
I do. I love that for me too. Thank you.
Even though it might be rough for you, like, I don't know what it's gonna be, but it's like trust, trust,
Yeah,
trust.
and it really is a lot of trust. And I feel very peaceful actually. Like there's a lot of things in
That
the
is so
air.
good that you feel peaceful. I'm
Mhm.
thrilled about that.
I've been working my design, girl.
Whoop, whoop.
I just yeah, it's so peaceful, it's a little unsettling because I
Oh,
have a lot of things up in the air, right?
sure,
And I
but
don't have answers or clarity
right?
for. And old me would have been like, pulling my hair out and worrying about things to come, which, we have no control over the
No.
future. We have no
Yeah,
idea what that's going to look like. And also just being like open to whatever is and having no control over it at all and not even trying to manipulate what could happen. I'm just like, I am in this beautiful place of allowing and receiving and genuinely, like, I am good on the inside, like, I'm good.
yeah,
No matter what happens, I totally trust that whatever direction my life takes me in the next year, which it will take me in some direction
yeah.
that's different than the direction I've been in. It's
Mm,
just the way it is,
mhm.
that everything's going to just fall into place better than I had even hoped for.
Yeah.
And probably more of what I wanted initially years ago that couldn't manifest until I did some cleanup work.
I actually think that that is a very good, um, uh concept to be using in 2024 is to understand that when things are falling apart, there's
Mhm.
also another aspect that's bringing together differently, and it's an evolutionary process that
Mhm.
we go undergo as humans, and that way of being is like, "Okay, we're gonna allow and watch it unfold,"
Right.
and that's so helpful in these tumultuous times is to find your little anchor point and hold on to that and allow
Yeah.
and know that we're just in this ocean that we're not in control of.
Right. And I feel like getting to know yourself better on a deeper level and asking yourself questions to gain the clarity. A lot of us just go through our lives without even like questioning why.
Right.
But the deeper questions, the more clarity you'll receive. And it's not that I never did not want to know myself before. I've really gotten to know who I am the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for that. But even more so now, I'm always in my head and I'm questioning everything. I'm like, does that feel good? Is that really what I want? I'm having these conversations with myself. It
It's
it
healthy.
I was gonna say it's healthy. It may look crazy from the outside when I'm sitting over there playing with my crystals in the shop going do 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 do, and everyone's like, "Okay, yeah, we've got to go." No, I'm just kidding. But you know what I mean. That did happen today, by the way. I was talking to the crystals.
It's good.
We were having a conversation, and someone's like, "Are you okay?" "I'm great."
I feel like I was just getting my answers.
Yes, just getting some clarity. You guys, enough about us and our weeks, but thank you for hanging in here with us as we share our experiences from the last week. When we return, we are going to bring on our brand new guest. So stay close with us. We'll be right back. Hello, friends. Welcome back to Soul Wanderings on KGRA Digital Broadcasting. I am AJ,
And I am Natalie.
and we're your host for tonight's show every week.
Every week,
But right
soul
now, we're
wandering.
here in the now, doing the now thing.
I love the now.
Ditto, ditto. Um, let's bring on our guest.
Let's
Let's not
do it.
even waste any
I
more
can't I
time.
can't wait to talk about metaphysical things and spiritual things and I don't even know what else.
Oh, he has a large
Yeah.
background, and so
Yeah.
we can. I'm
We
sure
probably just get to listen.
we'll see what happens. Tonight, we get to wander with David Gaggin. He's our guest this evening. He is the author of Eternal Existence, takes the many scientific, religious, and metaphysical principles into account and answers the questions: who are we? Where are we? And why are we here?
Perfect.
Yes, in doing so, it provides a much needed ethical philosophy to guide mankind and a personal methodology to improve our lives. Let's let's get to improving our lives. Hi, David. Welcome to Soul Wanderings.
Hi, AJ. Hi, Natalie. How are you?
Oh, well. And you?
I'm very well, thank you.
So good.
Awesome. Well, we're excited to have you here tonight. On Soul Wanderings, we have organic, authentic conversation. We like to kind of take you off your script a little bit and just sit and hang out with you and have some great talks. So, first of all, do you want to share with our audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I guess so. I'm an electrical engineer and a businessman. I've had a desire to try to figure out what's going on in life since I was a small child. Since my dad, I guess I wasn't that small. I was a teenager. My dad used to
Oh, we lost the
We
sound.
lost your
lost the
sound.
sound.
Oh,
Oh, there you go. You're
Okay,
back.
we back again.
yeah, you might have a
Okay.
little what I don't know if they call it a short or an open.
I don't know. I got something going wrong.
So
Okay.
we were about a teenager.
Okay, I was a teenager. Dad would give me the books, various books to read, Velikovsky's World in Collision and Aku Aku and all of these oddball things. And then he'd ask me what I thought about them, and I'd tell him I didn't have a clue. And and then I went on in life. Was always curious about what was happening. And then I had to make a living, so I went to college and became an engineer and chugged on. But then at a certain point, I decided to retire, and then I wrote a book called The Endless Journey, and that was fun. And then I was on a number of radio shows, and I thought, well, maybe you could do your own. So I was a host of the Common Sense Spirituality show for a couple of years, and then I gave up on that. My wife died suddenly, and so she was a big help in putting the show on. So I decided not to continue that, and then I wrote another book, Our Eternal Existence, and that's basically catches you up to where I am today in a nutshell.
In a nutshell. That's a short life story, David.
Yeah,
A
that
short, a
is.
short, a short bio, auto bio, no less.
So most recently, the book that you have written is our eternal existence. And that's what our focus is going to be on tonight. Help people gain an understanding of the book and you so they can go out and grab a copy for themselves. There it is up on the screen.
Yep.
Pretty cool cover, by the way. Very
Nice.
catchy.
Thank you. Yes, it's kind of the kind of a piece of the universe there sitting in front of us, and I thought it was kind of neat, so I chose that.
Well, take us back to the time where you decided, "Hey, I'm gonna write another book."
Well, I had my own radio show as I was saying, and I was on live every Friday morning from 9 to 10, and I would have all these guests on, and what I'd do is I'd pick a topic, and then I would go research that topic to find out who wrote a book about it, and I'd pick who I thought would be the best guest, and then I would call them up and say, "Hey, you want to be on the show?" And they virtually all agreed. They thought I was an oddball as an engineer playing around with metaphysics. They all thought that that would be a neat thing to do. So I found some very, very interesting people, learned a lot of stuff, and it helped kind of put the whole subject together for me. So I thought I'd articulate it in a book, which I did.
Which you did. I think that's awesome. I just love how you just decided to write a book. When people write a book, they usually are like it's a longer process than that, right? They just
Well,
take
well,
a
the first book I wrote, I really retired to write the book. That was I had a lot of thoughts in my head. I did a lot of traveling in my life. I was a government executive. I was a CEO of a company that I created and turned into the premier microwave subsystem company and defense company in the world, probably. And I got to a point where I'd kind of done what I wanted to do, so I wanted to try to understand what I knew. So it took me probably 6 months to get the business world out of my head because
Mm.
it was drilled in for 42 years. And then I started with an empty piece of paper. I don't know if you've tried it, and said, "Okay, Dave, what do you think? What are your thoughts?" And that is a very difficult thing to do. It was for me anyway. I'm an engineer. I barely speak the language. So trying to write was a challenge, and I had a good friend who was into this stuff as well. I had convinced him to get into it, and he bought into it, and he was a guy that I could send rough drafts to and have him read and give me his comments. And the early drafts, would come back, "Dave, I don't know what you're talking about," and then I'd rewrite it and rewrite it and until it came out to be something that was rational and people could understand. And I did that for the second book as well. Second book was easier to start because I'd already written one, and I said, "Okay, there's a lot of things you didn't put in that book that you can put in this next one," and that was really the motivation for it. I had a lot of things to say, so I thought I'd put the second book together, and I'm very glad I did. It came out very well, and my friend helped me again. Unfortunately, he ended up dying a couple of years ago, so I don't know if you're going to get a third book or not because I need him to
Oh,
bounce my
Oh,
ideas off.
yeah, it's good to have a friend. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Very
Perhaps
close friend.
someone else will come along that can help you out if you feel called to do so.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right.
Yeah, because whatever's meant to be will be, and that where there's a will, there's a way. Everything will fall into place. We were just talking about all of this.
Yep, I was listening to a part of it anyway. And you're right. If you want to do something, you put your mind to it, and your inner self will assist you to the point that it'll allow it to happen. If your inner self knows what you really want, it will give it to you. The
Mhm.
trouble is we send these mixed messages to our inner self, and the inner self gets confused, and it will give us what we want, but you have to be clear on what you want. If you sit around worrying about, for example, some ailment that you have, your inner self is liable to say, ah, maybe this person wants to experience this ailment, so I'll let them do it. It will allow you to experience anything you want. But if you envision yourself as being without that ailment and doing the things that you'd like to do. For example, I was forever injuring myself playing tennis, and I still play tennis. But I screwed up my shoulder once trying to play tennis with people that were probably 50 years younger than I was, and that was foolish. And and my knees got screwed up one at a time. And I'd go to a doctor, and the doctor would say, "Hey, you need an operation. We can get in there and we can fix it." And I'd say, "Well, I really don't want you messing around inside my shoulders and knees unless it's absolutely necessary." So I would lie there and I would envision 2 or 3 times a day for just a couple of minutes. I'd envision myself playing tennis again, and with a good shoulder or a good knee or whatever was ailing me. And before too long, it would heal, and my inner self would take care of it, and I'd be back on the tennis court.
I believe that.
I know. So
I'm doing that now with my life.
I heard that, and that's one of the reasons I brought it up, AJ, because I think if you make sure that you know what your inner self knows what you want, you'll get it. But you can't focus on it. A lot of people they think maybe their parents have cancer, and they thought, well, I'm going to inherit cancer. Most of my parents had it, and so I'll undoubtedly get it. So what do? You focus on it, and you read books about it, and then you watch television, and the ad says if you sneezed last night, you probably have cancer today. and and so everything you're doing, you're thinking about this cancer, and what you do is you attract it to you, and all of a sudden, sure enough, you get it. And so what you need to do is you need to not focus on this, and focus on not having it, and focusing it on the positive things that you want to happen. And your inner self will say, oh, okay, she wants to do this. All right, she wants to go over and accomplish this. All right, I'll let her do that. What we do is before we're born, we create a life plan, and the soul creates the life plan, and we pick our parents, we pick our siblings, our parents pick us. We pick our potential spouses. We do all these things, and then we agree to have certain experiences that our soul wants to have. But once we're born, we forget all of that. And then so we have a soul that encourages us and guides us to have these experiences. But we have the choice. We have free will. We don't have to have those experiences. Now, a lot of times when we don't have those experiences, things don't work so well. And I don't know if you've ever gone against your gut feeling, but when you do, most of us have, and rarely does it work out well. And that's because the inner self is saying, this is what you ought to do. And you say, that's not what I want to do, and it's not what I'm going to do. And then you deal with it. So we have, we have this huge power within us that we don't recognize. We don't realize that we have this power over ourselves, and so we don't use it. And then we get tied up with the day-to-day, and this is a tough place to live. This is one of the toughest places that you're going to find to live. But we chose to be here. We chose to be here. It was our decision to come here, and it was our decision to try to do what the soul wants us to do. But again, we forget what we signed up for, but the soul doesn't. So
Why do you think that's part of the process, that we make all of these plans, right? We pick all of these people to assist us to have these experiences, yet we come here with a blank slate?
well, you can't remember. We work with the same people, life after life. And there's a lot of people that we work with, but the chances that your parents were in your life at some other time is extremely high, and your children were in your life at some other time. So if you remembered that, it would be impossible. If you're the mother of your somebody that was your mother the last time, how screwed up would that life be, right? So you can't know all of these things. You're here to experience. And that's what we do. We're trying to experience all of these different things. And that's how we learn. And that's how our soul learns, through the experiences that we have. So we try to set these things up, and we try to go and have the experiences. And what happens in the experiences isn't nearly as important as the experience itself. In other words, we go and we think, hey, wouldn't it be great to be whatever? Okay. And whether you're a success or a failure at that, it's the experience that's the learning part. And that's really all we're doing here, is we're learning a lot more than you'd think, and we're doing it from a very difficult perspective, because every time we make a bad decision, uh, we we experience it. We experience the problems that go with that bad decision. So, and what's it doing? What's suffering doing? It's teaching us not to suffer. And it teaches us not to suffer by teaching us to make different decisions and better decisions.
All about the decision making.
It's all about the decision making. Yep. It's our choice.
It definitely is our choice. And then once you learn that, do you feel they become easier or more complicated?
Well, once you learn something, once you've had an experience, you'll find in life, and I probably have more decades to look back on. You have a couple, but what you find is things have a tendency to come to a crescendo, if you will, and then you have this big experience that sometimes are pretty darn difficult. And then things ease off, and all of a sudden something changes. Your life changes, and you go do something else. So then then you're off doing learning something else. You're getting yourself prepared, and things are easier for a while, and everything's going smooth. And then all of a sudden, you start getting tough again, because you're coming to another big experience. And then you have that experience, and it might take 5 years, might take 10 years, whatever it is. It takes a while to get the next experience. But the old experience is in your past. It's in your history. So it's not bothering you anymore. You've got past that. Now what's bothering you is your new experience. So now you have that new experience. Then what happens? Then you have then you have a tough time of it, and then you move on into another period, and things all of a sudden get easy for a while. So it's a cyclic life that we're in, because we're going from experience to experience. Hard to see that sometime when you're in the middle of a
Absolutely.
of a bad time. It's
Absolutely.
hard to see the bigger picture. But
I
that's what I try to explain in the book, in our eternal existence. That's the process, that one of the processes that I tried to explain, so people could understand that they have far more control over themselves than their lives, and than anything else. And matter of fact, nobody's got any control over us except ourselves, and we have no control over anybody else. Doesn't mean you don't try to help people, because you do. You want to help people as best you can, but the fact is, you can't change their life. Even your child, you can't change. Child will do what the child wants to do. You can help it, you can guide it, but it's the child's life. And the child becomes an adult before too long, and then it's just like you became an adult before too long. And maybe it didn't seem
feel
like too
how
long when you were going through it, but it happens pretty quick. And especially when you have kids and grandkids, you start seeing how fast it really changes and goes.
Yeah, definitely. I have a grandbaby and I'm like blown away, right? Kids, they're just it's just such a different little energy going around. And it really makes you question like your own mortality, like your life, even more than you did before. There's this little version of you, little grandbaby version of you, and you're just like, wow.
Yeah.
It's just
We have a tendency to worry ourselves about death because we don't understand it. But death is a big nothing. Dying can be a problem. That can be painful and a lesson to be learned, one that you signed up for, hard to believe, but you did. But the dying itself is you just change states. You just
Oh,
move
yeah.
into the astral plane, and and now you're happy, and and all the people behind, they're still stuck with their problems, and they're missing you, and the hard part's being left behind.
Mm.
The dying part is not. That dying is easy, and they don't really go anywhere. They just change states, and all of the different fields or planes, whatever you want to call them, they're right here. They're all intermixed, and so they're not really very far away. They're just different, and you can't reach them very well unless you have these certain skills. A medium, for example, can tie into them through telepathy and such like that.
Mhm.
And your deceased ones will want to talk to you. They want to interface with you. And it's very easy to find somebody who can interface. If you've lost somebody, a parent or a child or somebody, it's very easy to get in touch with them. Very easy. And a lot of times it helps. A lot of times, um, if you don't want to do it, some people just don't want to do it or don't believe they can do it.
Mhm.
It's more they don't believe that they can do it in most
well, a
cases.
lot of times grief also gets in the way when someone has died. Grief just
Absolutely.
clouds the whole essence of that, and the mind doesn't really understand death, so, um there's there's different ways to navigate. That's one of my things. Grief's my gig, so I do a lot of work in that arena, and I
Okay.
can tell you that it definitely gets cloudy during those times because the body's having its own physical experience, like you had mentioned, the being the one left behind in the human form and adjusting to life without that person. People take up a physical space, our bodies take up physical space, and when that body is gone, then you kind of fall into the hole that the person was there. You fall into the hole that they left in your life physically, and it's an adjustment. So one of the things that this kind of leads into like learning the metaphysical is the adjustment to someone's death and their body not being there and creating a relationship with energy or their spirit requires you to um, realize that they don't have vocal cords, they don't have arms, they don't have facial expressions. And so you have to learn a different language. And I would imagine that's something you've experienced learning a different language about energy to understand the metaphysical.
Yeah, you have inner senses. We have the five outer senses, and we all understand and know those. But those are gone. Those are attached to the body.
Right.
And those are what allow us to experience the physical field. It allows us to experience what's around us. But we have an inner sense, and the inner sense has all kinds of capabilities. So you still can much better. You can communicate. You can do all of these things that you really can't do very well. They're very limited in this physical field, but they're as soon as you die, they're available to you. But that you still have them. You have these capabilities, and if you're more sensitive to them, I say you have them. When you're still alive,
Right.
and that's the way. If you can develop those, you can communicate with the deceased, or you could hire somebody, a medium, and communicate. But grief is very real. It's very deep, and it's all consuming.
Mm.
It definitely has that.
Does.
All consuming.
Oh,
Right. So Natalie loves, like, really does.
I
She's
do.
a grief coach. She helps
Mhm.
people through loss. And I'm the one that's like really super duper comfortable in sitting with people as they transition.
Yeah.
I I I really think the end of life process is such a beautiful thing. But moving on. We could talk about death and dying the whole show because we love talking about that
It's true.
topic.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, There's so many questions I want to ask, and we need to go to a break in 3 minutes. So let's see. Um,
Cue it up for the after break.
well, first of all, everyone has a different description on what they would call spirituality and metaphysical. What are your definitions of metaphysics?
Well, meta means beyond. So literally, it means beyond physics or beyond science. And metaphysics basically takes into consideration all of the different informations. It takes religion in, it takes ESP, it takes philosophy, it takes
Mm.
all of the different beliefs in, and tries to understand the world. Whereas science tries to understand the physical world, metaphysics tries to understand both the physical and the spiritual world. So to me, metaphysics and spiritual means the same thing because we're spiritual beings. So everything we do is spiritual. You can't do anything that isn't spiritual if you're a spiritual being. So I say, hey, they're the same in my mind. There's just different terminology for it.
I love that.
Makes sense.
It that's how I feel like where is the line that just they're so similar. They're so interconnected. Thank you for sharing that with us. Why don't we go ahead and take our top of the hour break? When we return, we'll continue our wandering with David. Stay close, everyone. We'll be right back. Hello, friends. Welcome back to Soul Wanderings, heard here on KGRA Digital Broadcasting. We are live every Wednesday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. And if you are interested in listening to any past shows, we highly recommend you go over to kgradb.com, head over to the shows and hosts section, and then go over to Wednesday night and click on Soul Wandering. At the top of the page, you'll see some buttons. I don't know what color that is. Red, orangey, red. I don't know. The colored buttons that say monthly, annual, or free. There are options for you to become a member that are all affordable, and you can support the station and the show by doing so. And we love new members.
Yes, we
It
do.
keeps us going, doing what we're doing. Tonight we are hanging out with David Gaggin, and he is the author of Our Eternal Existence. And tonight we are talking about his book and the contents therein. I really like this topic tonight, David. Thanks for bringing it.
Thanks for having me.
It's really awesome. So, we talk about all of this stuff on a regular basis, but everyone has a different viewpoint and everyone has different beliefs. So far, what you have shared has really resonated with us. We believe the same things. Um, but there's always so much more to learn from other people and
Oh,
their
it's true.
experiences. And we have another hour to continue to wander. So thank you for being here with us tonight. In your book, there is Seth and Michael. Can you tell us about them and
Yes.
how they came to be?
Okay. The uh, uh, the universe has seven fields of creation, and the physical is one, and the astral, of course, is where we go when we die, and then we go back and forth between the astral and the physical. And then after we've done all the reincarnating we feel like doing on this particular round, we, as a group, maybe a group of 1,000 souls, get together and they move on to the causal field, and then in time they group with other groups of 1,000, and they move on into the mental and so on and so forth until they're done that particular cycle, grand cycle, and they go back into the Tao and then decide what they want to do the next time. Well, there are groups in the causal field, and one of the things the causal field does, because it's fairly close to the physical field, is to try to help and assist the people in the physical field. We need a lot of help. We need all the help we can get to get through this.
Yes.
So Michael and Seth are simply causal groups. So when you talk to one of them, you don't really know which one of the thousands that you're talking to, but they all work together and they support each other. So they all say they give you the same message. And I had Shepherd Hoodwin on my show a couple of times, and I got to talking to him and enjoying him tremendously. And he is a channel for Michael, and so I had a number of sessions with Michael. Fascinating uh, sessions because you can ask him anything. And of course, what Shepard said is my interviews were odd because everybody else wanted to know about themselves, and I wanted to know how the universe worked. So they ended up, they'll tell you, they'll answer anything, and if they don't know, they'll tell you they don't know. And they said this is the best we know. And, the universe is big and complicated, and just because you get through this cycle doesn't mean you understand how the universe works, but you understand an awful lot more than when you're in the middle of being, having a physical experience. So, and Seth is the same way. Seth came through. Apparently Seth comes through. Some people say they come. Seth still comes through live. I haven't been happy about that, but I haven't found anybody that I had confidence in. But Jane Roberts back in the '60s did a lot of work with Seth, and all that information is documented and easy for people to find. It's not easy to understand necessarily, but it's the access is easy. So there are channels that will tie you into the spiritual world, and you can get an amazing amount of information through those. Edgar Casey, he was able to get into. Are you familiar with Edgar Casey? He was a little bit before all of our time, but he left an amazing legacy, and mediums can do the same thing sometimes. You can get most of the mediums work with the astral field, but some are capable of channeling farther up. So basically, that's what they are. They're sources of information that are trying to help mankind understand what's going on and move society along. So that's what they are.
Did
Huge.
you did
Right?
you read a lot of the channelings of Seth
Yeah, oh,
from Jane Roberts' works?
yeah, sure. Yeah, very, very
I've
interesting.
read some of that.
That's it's not easy to understand. You have to spend some time on it,
Yeah.
but all there, and it's just it was dictated to well through Jane Roberts to her husband Butts, and he wrote it all down. So but it's very interesting stuff. It's just challenging to understand it, but there, it's available.
Well, it's interesting because I was reading, I can't even remember one of the books that were the channels of Seth, and, uh, in this one page, it talked about people that were present, and, Dick Bach was there, and well, otherwise known as Richard Bach, who happens to be one of my favorite authors, and so it's interesting to see Richard Bach was present at one of the live channelings of Seth through Jane, and he wrote a lot of books and stories that were quite metaphysical under the surface of his stories.
Okay.
Um, and I find that humans really like to absorb storytelling. And when our stories are infused with the way the universe works, it really gets into us as humans.
It does.
Good storytellers.
Hmm. I agree.
So I'm curious about I in reading the stuff that we read about that I was reading about you before you came on the show, it said that you had had a lot of touching into a lot of different philosophical, I'm sure as your electrical engineering background and spiritual teachings and religious teachings, and you found some commonalities or points that were similar. Can you go over some of that?
Well, there's that's a huge subject that you just brought up. You know,
Just
if
give us your long life in a nutshell. I think you should just be able to do that.
you know, it's yeah, if for example, quantum mechanics, and quantum mechanics, I don't know how familiar you are with quantum mechanics, but I'm sure you've heard the name. And quantum mechanics says, for example, that a particle can be either an electron, piece of matter, can be either a particle or a wave, and that's pretty strange. And so, but they've shown it in the lab, and you can. So that's a dual aspect of a particle's nature. Well, we have the same dual aspect, and we have a web nature, and we have an individual nature. And what we're doing here is we're trying to understand and learn about our individual nature and the sanctity of an individual. But we're still a web-like creature. It doesn't mean we lose the individuality. We never lose our individuality, but we work much more closely with groups when we work in the web, in our web configuration, which we do most of the time. And that's what's happening to the Seth and Michael and the causal elements, is they're starting to group back together. They've been individuals. They've separated themselves when they came out of the Tao, and they've had their life existences. Now they're working their way back into more of a web-like configuration or existence. So there's an example where metaphysics and quantum mechanics are telling the same story. And the reason is because there's only one substance. There's only one substance that exists, and that's conscious energy. That's it. Everything is made from conscious energy. That means everything is conscious. Now that's a little strange, isn't it? But
No,
everything is, it's not strange to you? Good,
no.
good. Everything is conscious. An atom is conscious. Your car is conscious. Your house is conscious. Now there's a difference between your car and you, because you have a purpose. Your car doesn't. Your car, you think your car has a purpose, but your car itself, your Volkswagen, doesn't strive to become a Mercedes. Now that might not be a positive news, but it's just the way it is. And so, you know, it is what it is, but it's all conscious energy. And we are conscious energy, and that's what the Tao is, conscious energy. So we're really part of the one universal entity, the conscious energy. Now the upper levels, the higher spirits, they are infinitely wiser than us, but they're still the same substance as we are. And our goal, our evolutionary goal, is to work our way, you know, up to where they are. Of course, their evolutionary goal is to work their way higher too. So it's not that you're going to catch them, but you're going to become wiser, and everybody below you, like your pets, they're going to be sentient beings. They're going to be humans someday, and maybe not be that far off. They're not that far behind us, and because we've been doing this for probably billions of years, and you know, from the time, and maybe a lot longer than that. I really don't know how long, but seriously long period of time since our consciousness was some, you know, part of an atom, which was, you know, we've learned a lot since then, but we have a long way to go. And the beauty of it is we have eternity to do it. So, you know, a lot of people say, you know, the religious, some of them will say, hey, we go and we die and we, you know, we sit there and are in our glory with God. Well, you know, sitting doing nothing for eternity is not my idea of heaven. That would be my idea of hell. So we're going to be busy. We're doing things, but we run our own show. We control our evolution. We decide what we want to do and what we want to learn. And we have, everybody on this planet has decided, all right, I'm going to take this difficult physical path because I think I'm going to evolve faster. And and they do. We do evolve faster, and some can evolve very fast, but it's not an easy task. It's painful, but it's interesting.
I think I am going to evolve pretty quickly.
I signed up
The
for
more
a
pain,
lot
the
when you
more the faster you evolve. There you go.
I'm
She
like, let's
Probably,
just get this
probably
over with.
some kind of truth in that.
You
No,
and
I
someone
really
else
there
I
has
know.
to be. There has to be. There has to be some truth in this.
Yes, I think so too.
You bring up consciousness. Tell us a little bit more about what your feeling is on consciousness.
It's an aspect of energy. You know, energy. It's one of the it's one of the the pieces of energy. Energy has certain functions, and one of the key functions is consciousness. You know, it also has a desire, and all the things that you have in you that make you you. That's part of what comes from our consciousness, which comes from the basic what energy is. Energy is an amazing substance,
Mm.
and it's what it's allowed this universe and you and I and everybody in it and all the much higher spirits to be what they are, is because of this amazing function of energy. And consciousness is one of the key things. So what we're trying to do is evolve our consciousness, and consciousness it's an awareness. We're aware of ourself, and we're aware of our surroundings, and so is an atom, but it's got a very small perspective. Whereas we're trying to evolve, we're trying to broaden our perspective. And so that's what we're trying to do here, is to understand ourselves. That's really, the only thing that exists is the Tao, which you could call God, you could call universal consciousness, whatever you call. That's all that exists. So that's all there is to find out about. So the Tao is searching to try to understand about itself, and we're part of that. So we're trying to understand about ourself, and that contributes to what the Tao knows.
I get that from my studies.
Do you? Okay, good.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll tell you, this information, if you want to spend the time and energy, it's available. The trouble with most people is they think it isn't. They think you can't know. And you can know, but you have to go after it. You have to spend your time searching for it. But
Mhm.
the information is there. He who seeks shall find is not just a religious sentence. It's really very, very true, but it doesn't come easy. And the more you look, the more you search, the wiser you get, and the more you evolve,
And the more questions you have.
Oh,
and the
it's
more
true.
questions you. Well, you're absolutely right. There's many questions that the more you learn, the more you realize what you don't know.
Exactly. I feel like the more that I have learned, the less I know for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
well,
It's
I
yeah,
good though, because it continues to keep you seeking,
absolutely.
right?
Well, and I that's the point of the Tao. It's like it's just consciousness figuring it. We're all I've heard it said we are on the edge of expansion. So the point I think that's the right word. I don't know. At the edge of expansion, we're just one point having a personal experience, having a perspective on the bigger game, and we don't even have to worry about how that all comes together. We just do our life,
That's
our
exactly
personal
right.
perspective.
It's the experience. It's not what comes out of it. It's not, we're very interested in how it comes out, right? And so if you go in and you have a business and it fails, well, fine. So, you've learned something, your spirit's learned something. If it succeeds, well, that's fine too, and maybe your life is a little easier. But it's still, the experience is still there. It doesn't have to succeed in your terms, in your physical terms. Success is having the experience, and how it comes out. Well, that's how it comes out. But the evolution, the knowledge gained it comes out no matter how your particular circumstance worked itself out.
Those words really can free people from suffering.
Well, you're absolutely right, and that's why I wrote Our Eternal Existence. It's a book that that I think can help people understand who they are and why they're here, and how to ease their way through life and accept things, and life is what it is, and you can't you can control it to a good certain extent, but you're always going to have issues because that's why you're here. You're here to experience those issues. And just if you could just not be so upset about them, if we could just say, okay, this is what we're doing, and this is what it is, and so be it. It makes life a lot easier, a lot easier. You don't have to stress out as much as we all have a tendency to do.
It's true.
Why do you think it is easier for, us as we get older to, surrender more? Do you think that's the experience or
Well, I think you get wiser. I
Mhm.
mean, when you're young, what do you know? You know nothing really, and most people. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's some people that do, but most people don't. And so if you spend some time at it, you can start seeing the bigger picture. The other thing is, you generally people have successes. You look in the news and it looks like everybody on the planet is in dire straits, but it's not true. Most people, if you look around your neighbors and your friends, yeah, they've all got problems. Everybody's got problems. We all got problems, but we learn to take them better and accept things a little bit better, and we're not pushed so much. We don't push ourselves so much to try to be something that maybe that's not appropriate to be, or we'd wish to be, and so well, we put the pressure on. Nobody else puts any pressure on us. All the pressure comes from within for everything,
Yeah.
and it's the nature of the beast, isn't it? It's kind of who we are.
And there's so much freedom in when you learn that, right? When you learn that everything that you're have going on in your existence is a reflection of what's going on in your inside yourself, with your
Absolutely.
thoughts, with your mind, all of that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
You bring up the 3 big questions. Who are we? Where are we? And why are we here? Do you
right.
think that we ever find out while we're having this human experience?
Oh, I think there's certain things you'll find out and certain things you won't find out. You can talk to the spiritual world and they pretty much know what's going to happen to you. You have free will and you can change things, but they have a pretty good idea what's going to happen to you, but they're not going to tell you because you have to go through and have that experience.
Mm,
So there's certain things you're not going to know until you have the experience. But there's other things, that we're here to learn how to manage power. We're here to learn how to accept ourselves and understand our individual aspects. I mean, there's some broad things that we can understand easily. We're here to evolve, so these things are relatively easy and straightforward from a broad picture to understand. The very specific things, and everybody comes down with a lot of very specific things. Those you don't really understand until you go through it. One example that I got from Michael is my mother had in past lives, her family's business and home and such was destroyed, and she never really got back and never got comfortable with life again. So her big issue here, or one of them, was to have a life that she felt comfortable in, a family. And so family gatherings were a huge thing to her, and I learned this after she died. They'd never tell you beforehand. But so you look at this and you say, well, she was just an average housewife, but it turns out she had a very successful life, and maybe a much more of a successful life than somebody that happened to be a CEO of a large corporation. You don't know. You
mhm.
don't know what all the difference are. We come here with specific things to understand and learn, and how well we do that, is it's judged by us later on, when after we die and say, okay, yeah, I did this pretty well, and could have done better here, and so on and so forth.
So I've heard that many times through people who have had NDEs or people who have channeled, wherever they're getting the information. When we transition, we go to a place to watch our own personal life, and we are the judges of us, not anyone else.
Nobody else cares. You come down here with a set
Like
of things, to accomplish,
mhm.
and if you and if you fail miserably, there's no, shucks, if what, being on the radio here. And if you succeed, there's no attaboys. There's, it's nobody cares. Spiritual world doesn't care. You did what you did, and you start where you left off, and you just pick it up. You gained what you gained, and the soul says, okay, here's where I am. But I think it's interesting that a lot of people, nobody has a pre-life plan to be a terrorist and kill people and such. But people can get you know get confused, and such. And you notice a lot of these, they die young. And I think they die young because I think the soul says, man, I'm working up some karma here. I really don't want to get too deep into it. So we're gonna get out of here and reset. And so so you see a lot of that. And so when we make our pre-life plan, we also have exit points. And so, depending on which part of the plan you decide to take, and there's many, many options that you have. For example, your spouse. Well, maybe you agreed to marry somebody, and they're already married. Time you get around to it, or you're an alcoholic, and they say, I don't want to deal with an alcoholic again. So you'll might marry somebody else. Well, that's fine. So that's a different path maybe that you're on, and each path has different experiences, and it has exit points on it. So somebody knows up there in the spiritual world when we will probably end our life. Our life will be ended. It's
Mm.
never good to end your own life because you don't know those things. In other words, suicide, you're not going to get away from your problems. You may step aside right now, but that problem will come back to you in another life before it's all over and done with. And you have to deal with it eventually.
Uh,
Is that your same feeling?
I've done suicide loss grief groups for years. My take on suicide that goes along with soul contracts is that I feel like they maybe write an opt-out clause. So in their contract, they have an opt-out so that there's an exit door. Because I really, truly, through all the stories, I have this understanding you can't leave unless there's an exit doorway. I know some people with some peer pretty serious suicide attempts. They don't die, and then other people that do. So with suicide, I see that it's possible that they've just signed on for something, and there's an exit point where they
Uh,
can go.
It, it I think that's certainly a possibility. I think there's other cases. I know one child. He was about 18. He threw himself in front of a train, killed himself, and they were able to get in touch with him through a medium afterwards. And he was extremely sorry that he made that decision, and it was a big mistake. So I think that uh, I think you never want to recommend to anybody that they commit suicide. That
Oh,
and give them a belief that, hey, maybe this is part of my plan, because I don't I don't think it's part of very many people's plans.
well, no, I agree with that. My work is with the people that are alive coming to terms, and so, uh, it's all in divine order. There is such an order in this universe that it's very, very ordered, and in this dance or drama that we're involved in, where the universe is experiencing itself. Sometimes someone dying by suicide has this other effect for those people that live beyond that point, and they pick up their pieces and they learn a very expansive lesson through someone having a death like that. So, in this dance where we're consciousness, it's all conscious, and there's all of this different roles, if we wanna put it that way, that we're playing out. And like you said, you're like, "Oh, someone's not really measuring it the way that maybe religion had taught us." That the consciousness is measuring it through experience, and that's an experience as well. So there's this that's my take on it because my interactions are, from the people that are dealing with the grief and putting their life together and the meaning making that comes after life has given us some very difficult experiences, and then we make meaning from it, and from what I gather, the aspects of your book would would present people with concepts that help them make meaning from life. What are we doing here? What's the purpose? What's the purpose if I've had a loved one die of suicide? Or what's the purpose if I feel like I've ruined everything by having a business fail so horribly? Or I've come across people who have been scammed thousands of dollars, and then they have to build a life after having lost so much money and being betrayed, um, they didn't follow their gut in something. So the meaning making, is there aspects of the book that go to that?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. The people that are left behind are the ones that the book is for. Quite frankly, obviously, it's the people that pass on. They learn this real quick of what's really going on, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
remember what it is. And you're absolutely right. I think if you can understand what that there's a bigger picture, and the people that do die, a lot of times they'll have a specific purpose. The friend of mine who I told you died, we've been in touch with John since then, and he said that he told Sue, his wife, he said, he needed to die because there was a relationship that they were having with their son that was a serious problem, and so what happened? His death caused the son to relook at his life and come back into the fold. So yeah, there's no question about it. And John just kind of fell backwards and passed out and bled to death in a very short period of time. He's healthy right to the last second, but it was a purpose to, it was, he didn't do it, he didn't try to do it, but
Right.
his soul set it up so that's what had to, that was what was supposed to happen. And his inner self agreed to it, that was the right way to go. So
Mm.
yeah, I don't think there's any question. Our eternal existence, my book would help people a great deal that are wondering what the heck's going on around here, and seems like I'm always getting beat up. It seems like the world is on my case, and the world isn't on your case. It just seems that way. And if you had a different perspective on what's happening to you, it's a lot easier to take and understand if you realize that, you're learning things are positive, and, we all signed up for this, and we're a courageous individual for doing it. And, God bless them for taking us on, because we all learn when somebody else has an experience. We all learn from their experience. Everybody learns from other people's experience. I mean, even if we don't know them, we're adding to the amount of knowledge that the Tao has. We're helping out, and they're helping us,
We're all in this together.
all in this together.
We are, and we're so connected. It's just mind-blowing when you think about the details, right?
It is.
It's just like, how did this ever come to be? How is it so beautifully orchestrated? It's just
It's amazing.
it
That
is.
there is the intelligence in the Tao is staggering. That for them to be able to create all of this, it's staggering. And I truly believe that this was not created at the top. I think the top of the Tao is way beyond this and what they're doing. And this is even lower level beings that are staggeringly bright and staggeringly wise. And they are, and what I think they're doing is they're trying to figure out the best way to evolve souls that are about at our level. And there's other societies that are easier to live in because their aggression is capped. These are other worlds, and the aggression is capped. And therefore, once somebody gets so frustrated they want to kill somebody, the aggression gets capped. Well, here, the aggression doesn't get capped. And as a result, we live in a much tougher environment than maybe a lot of others, but I think we probably grow faster than the other ones. I don't think, I know we do. And the unfortunate part, maybe it's unfortunate, maybe it's not, we have the capability to destroy our civilization. And if we do, what happens? Well, we all learn something. Nobody is really destroyed. We set up camp on another planet, I guess, and the Tao says, well, maybe we gave them too much capability at that level of evolution. So it's all part of a bigger plan, and it's hard to see it from the day-to-day grind that we're in. But it's truly part of a bigger plan, and we are the valiant crusaders that have chosen to come here in this very tough place and do and have these experiences.
David, you speak with such clear knowing for yourself that what you're saying is complete and total truth. Did you always feel this way, or is it after all of the research that
Oh,
you
it's after the research. Oh, when I started, I didn't know what the answer was. I didn't have a clue, and I didn't know what I'd find. And I found it in bits and pieces, and some of it, at times, I remember thinking back, this may not be good. I may find that this is not a good system, and the situation that I found myself in, I had no idea. But as you put it together, it's like an engineering problem. When you don't know what the cause is, you don't know, you have no idea what it's going to be. When you do find the cause, and I'm talking about a technical problem, I used to design flight control systems for Boeing, and when the flight control system wasn't working very well, nobody knew why. Well, when you found out, it was simple, right? It all made sense, and then you could fix it and move on. But when you're in the middle of looking, you don't know how bad the problem is. Well, that's the same way it was for me when I searched. But the more I learned, it started to make sense, and the whole thing came together. And it can come together for anybody, but it's nobody's. They can't. You can't be given it. You have to find this stuff. So basically, our eternal existence is a path for people that are seeking. And if you're not seeking and you're really not interested in this stuff, the book's not going to help you. But if you're trying to figure out what's going on in your life, it can show you where to look, and it can help guide you. But it's your trip. It's nobody else's trip. You're living it. I'm not living it. I can't live your trip. I can only live mine. And all I can do in my books is say, hey, look what I found. I studied this thing. I studied everything that I could possibly find for probably 60 some years. And here's what I found. And it's a really good story. And take what piece you want and move on with it. But it's no, I didn't know this stuff for a long time. But I'll tell you, I did start figuring it out towards the end of my business career, and that was a huge help. It was a huge help when I was growing a business. I grew a business from I was employee number one, and 15 years later, I had $1 billion in annual sales and 3,500 employees. Well, there was a lot of pain and suffering working your way up to that, and it was a huge help when I started to understand how the world worked, and and what was happening. When a hurricane ran over my house, it was a lot easier to understand. Granted, I went home and had a martini, but it was still, it was still a lot easier than just sitting there, despondent about what's happening in life.
Martinis. Sometimes that's the answer.
Well, it's a short-term thing, but if you're just sitting there and then there's a level 4 hurricane on top of your house, you figure, hey, what am I gonna do?
Yeah. I mean,
That's actually a good analogy for life. When there's this massive storm going on in your life, sometimes you're just like, "Hey, what do you do?"
Yeah, exactly. I'll sit through it and deal with it when it's over.
Ride it
Can't
out.
deal with it. Can't deal with it. You can't take on a hurricane, right? You just deal with it when it's done.
through your writing process with this most recent book, what's one thing that you learned about yourself in the process?
That's a good question. One thing that I learned. I don't know. I don't know. I learned so much, but I learned it on a gradual basis, and I learned that I could communicate, what I found to people. I think the book, if you have a basic understanding, and you're not embedded in religion or science. Science is a religion itself. Then you can understand this book, and I think I learned that I could put it in a book and people could understand it if they chose to. And as I said, I'm an engineer. Engineers don't write, they don't speak. They're supposed to be in a corner somewhere doing some kind of mathematical subject. And we're not all that way, but that's sort of what they
That's stereotype.
stereotype. Yeah,
You've got a
right.
knack.
Some of the most wonderful humans I've ever met have been engineers. I really admire the way that your brain works. You just see things so differently.
From as an engineer, you're talking about?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a certain perspective. I think you're right. I think you're right. You take on problems, and to understand the problem, you have to understand all the pieces to it.
Mhm.
So when there's a lot of pieces, you got to put it together. And as I say, I used to design flight controls, used to design cockpits for the Boeing. When I was in charge of the R&D for command and control for the Army, and that was a huge problem. And but trying to figure out what the right solution was, and so on and so forth, and putting together a corporation
Mm.
was it's a huge problem. But the real big problem that I was working on all my life was, what's life all about? The metaphysical problem. That was the big one. The rest of them were small compared to trying to figure out all of this stuff, because it's so well camouflaged, and it's such an illusion that we live in, and
Mm.
brilliantly put together by who knows who.
So do you find that there was some insight that you gained? Because in many ways, as an engineer, you're a creator.
Yeah.
So an engineer will set out to create and go through that whole creation process, tweaking, modifying, putting it on, put the cockpit together, and then you see how it functions, and you're like, "Oh, I didn't realize that would be a problem in functionality." So you're bringing this mental construct into the physical form,
Yeah.
and then working out the kinks, and then redoing it maybe. So I would imagine that gave you just a little leg up in
Well,
the whole
what it
creation.
does is builds your confidence. I had a lot of success. When I first walked into Boeing, I just graduated as an engineer, and I walk in, and there's 500 different, one big room, one giant room. This is back in 67 or something, or maybe eight. Or anyway, there's one big room, and it's all full of engineers. No, nothing breaks them up, just these desks. And I walked in, and they'd hired me into the flight controls group, and I thought, this job's not going to last long because they will soon find out I don't have a clue how to stabilize this helicopter. And then 7 years later, I'm running a group. So it gave me a lot of confidence, and everywhere I went, I got more and more confidence that I could do it. I could solve these problems. And that helped me certainly with the metaphysical side, because it gave me more confidence to say, hey, there's probably answers here somewhere. Let me keep working on this thing. And I had a lot of time, had a lot of dead time. I was on a lot of airplanes. My company, I spread from Sweden to San Diego. So I had, you know, facilities all over the world. So I'm always running around. I'm never home. You're always running around. You're always going to meeting people. So I'm in a lot of hotel rooms by myself, and such. So what do? You have your books, and you can read all this stuff. So there's a lot of dead time that you get a chance to do in my life. I did.
Took advantage of it.
Heck
Mhm.
yeah.
Congratulations on your successful business, by the way.
Thank you.
I remember the first business, official business. I mean, I had a business when I was 8 years old. I don't know how legit it was, but always been an entrepreneur. And my first successful business, I remember I made a decision to be done with it. First, there were reasons why. Not because it wasn't viable or wasn't successful in any way. It was some other things that were taken into account. And I remember the amount of failure I felt, like just totally defeated, even though it was my choice, right? It was my choice to do the things. And when you brought up earlier how about failure, about making decisions to close a business. I think that a widget's a widget. So regardless if it's a business or anything else, the failure in life, it's such a huge teacher. And it gave me an opportunity to revisit that failure once I grew a little wiser and realized like I didn't fail at all. Actually, I learned so much. And I did something I never thought I could do. But I think that's with life in general, right? We are so hard on ourselves and we're so conditioned to believe that if it doesn't look or be a certain way, it's not right or it's not good enough or
Yeah.
we're not good enough.
I think that's right. I think it's kind of natural to to feel bad about, you set certain goals, and if you don't meet those goals, you can feel bad about it, especially if some very negative things happen. But I think as you go through life, I think that's really the key, is to start learning that you are far more capable than
Mhm.
you thought you were, and failure is not really what you think it is, and you can learn from it. And if you take the positive view of that every time you do something, I think you're way ahead of the game. And that's the key, is to say, okay, I tried this, and okay, that worked or it didn't work, and or go as expected. But it's building, if you can build confidence in yourself. And
Mhm.
I think and that's one of the things that I think, if you understand who you are and what you're all about, it helps you tremendously to realize it. And that's what our eternal existence tries to explain to people, that hey, you are a fantastic person just for being here, just to accept this horrendous challenge that you've accepted. You are a fantastic person in your own right. Congratulations. Thanks for coming. And so, and if you can, if you can convince yourself of that, and it's true. That's what we are, every one of us. And you really need to use these experiences to build your self confidence and to build yourself up. And if you can understand more about what's going on, I think it's a huge help. And the people that probably listen to your show, and the people that are interested in this, are more likely that a lot of the people on the planet aren't ready for this stuff yet, but they're coming. They're coming. The planet is improving. It's growing. And Michael said they're not putting any more infants on the planet, infant souls on the planet. We got enough problem as it is. We're aging the entire population of humanity. And as we age, the more we, the more stable our societies will be.
Mm. Michael seems very wise.
It's
He's
staggeringly wise.
giving you a lot of knowledge. What are some other things that have come forward that you think would be important for us to hear?
Uh, well, I think, I think if, realizing how it all fits together and that it does, there is a system. There is, there is a method to this madness. And it, as much as it seems like madness, we're getting a very negative picture because of the media that we happen to have available to us these
Mhm.
days. And if we could, if people could realize that, this is really far more under control than you can possibly imagine, and that it may not seem it because we're always being exposed to the very negative, but there's an awful lot of very positives that's happening at the same time, and you don't know what causes the negative. And some people are, if something happens to somebody and you say, oh, that poor person, well, you don't know if it's karmic. You don't know what the cause was. All you know is, all you can see, it's like going to a movie and trying to judge the movie from a single frame. It's impossible, and that's how we view life. We view it through a single frame, and we don't get to see where we were beforehand, or where we're going, or what's happening. We see it as an instant in time, and that's not a very good way to judge anything. And so, if you can understand that this is all, in real time, it's all happening, but there's a method to it, and you're a key piece of that method, and you're contributing to everybody's knowledge by whatever you're doing.
Mhm. Yeah, it's just getting to that point for so many of us in the belief that that is true.
Yeah, and the belief is very hard, and I cannot convince anybody to believe anything,
Mm.
because that you have to convince yourself. You're the only person that can convince you of anything, and whatever it takes to convince you is that's what you have to do, and you got to spend the time and the energy to look at it. But if you realize that the information is available to you, and the positive results that will come out if you do, spend the time and energy to understand what's happening to you and how you fit into the bigger picture,
Mhm.
the results are staggering. I mean, you can fix your health, you can fix your financial situation, you can fix anything you got. If you sit around and you believe that you're going to be poor all your life, trust me, you'll be poor all your life, because your inner self will say, obviously, he or she wants to be poor because you concentrated on it. So I'll give them the poor experience. Your investments won't be good. And your health is the same way. If you think you're going to be sick, you think you're going to ail, that's what's going to happen. Now there's other reasons that you might get sick. If you're pushing yourself too hard, your body may say, slow down. We're going to put the brakes on. If you don't want to put the brakes on, we'll put the brakes on. And so there are other things that do it, but it's all because of your actions. It's all because of what you're doing, and your attitudes. When I say you, I'm talking about you, me, and everybody around here. And it's and so if you can understand how it works, it makes life so much easier. But you have to put the effort into it. It's nobody else can do this for you. You have to do it. You can be guided, and I hope my book guides people, but they have to be at a point where they're willing to say, hey, I'm interested in this, I want to see how it works.
Mm.
And then it could save a lot of people time. I tell you, if I'd have read that book 50 years ago, it would have been a heck of a lot easier for me to figure out what was going on than not having anything like that, and having to figure it out myself through everything I could look at.
But also, if you think about yourself 50 years ago, or it's probably less for you, um, would you even be in that place to receive that information?
Oh, that's hard to say.
You find the information
You
and
you
you
you you may well be right. It may take a certain amount of time. Everybody has their time to do it.
Mhm.
And and some people might read this book now and not get anything out of it, and in 20 years read the book and say, "Holy cow." I didn't understand what he was saying. So everybody, you're right. Everybody has a time, and who knows what that time is. But if you got to try. If you don't try, if your life's not good and you got problems in your life, then you ought to try. It's going to help you to try to figure out what's going on.
Mhm.
It will help you. And how far you get and how much you can take in at any given time, I don't know. And it's up to every individual, but it'll help people to understand who they are and why they're here.
Mhm.
And when they're ready, then they'll grasp it. And if, and as you say, 20 years ago, who knows, or 50 years ago, who knows
I
what I'd have bought
yeah,
into.
yeah.
Took
I
me 10
remember. Go ahead.
it took me 10 years to buy into reincarnation. I came out of the Episcopal background, Episcopal church, and the church said no reincarnation. I came out of science. Science says no, there's nothing there, no reincarnation. And then I start reading this stuff and looking at it, and I'm thinking, something's going on here. But I didn't know what it was. And about 10 years later, it took me a full decade to finally say, that's the only way it can work. It can't be anything else.
Mm.
But it's when you're ready, you're ready.
Yeah, I agree. It's just like reading the illusions book when I was in like junior high or high
Oh,
school,
yeah.
and I was like, yeah, I don't know what this book is about, but and then reading it now, way different perspective.
Way different perspective. Yeah, because you've matured, and your views have matured, and you've looked at a lot of other things, and you've thought it through a lot of other things,
Mhm.
and things start making sense to you. They make more sense as you go along.
Well,
Yeah.
I that's also the understanding of philosophical or metaphysical teachings, that you can read it and it lays down a foundation that you then are working from and living from. It gets in there somewhere, and then you go along and then you read it and you've got some prerequisites
Mhm.
to get the other concepts, get them more deeply. And there's so many spiritual or metaphysical teachings that actually work like that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's
I agree 100%. It's a process. You have to build it up. It's not intuitive. Matter of fact, it's set up not to be intuitive.
right.
Mhm.
It's an illusion. Einstein told us that, and so did Plato. Life is an illusion, and it is. It's a fantastic illusion, but you're allowed to see through it if you should put the effort in, and when you're ready,
Yeah.
you will. And I think everybody will be ready sooner or later. I don't,
Mhm.
not in my lifetime, and probably not in yours, but in time, all our civilization will all get to the point where we'll understand this stuff a lot better.
Maybe in a next lifetime of ours.
Well,
Perhaps.
maybe the next time, maybe a couple down the line. I don't know.
Who
I don't
knows?
know.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Oh my
Who
gosh,
knows?
David, it's been so much fun getting to know you and all that you have to offer. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me on. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's very good. So, we want to make sure everyone knows how to access your book. How can they do that?
Okay, you can go. I have a website, davidgaggin.com, and that's it's right on the screen there. And you can go there and you can read about the book, and there's a link to Amazon, and you can buy it at Amazon very easily, or Barnes and Noble. But you go to Amazon's probably the easiest thing, and you can order it, and it'll show up very quickly at your door. And then I also have, if you're down in Southern Florida, I run a metaphysical meetup group, Sanibel metaphysical meetup group, and it's free. I pick up all the costs for it, and we get together and chat over esoteric discussions on various things that anybody wants to talk about. And so if you're in Southern Florida around Fort Myers, just look up Sanibel Metaphysical Meetup. It's meetup.com. And you can find us, and you're all welcome to come if you're down in the area down here.
Oh, beautiful.
Let's go
Maybe
to
we need, I
Florida.
was going to say, maybe we need to go to Florida.
Hey, there you go.
Awesome. So before we go, I like to ask, do you have any final words for our audience that you want to leave them with?
I think to just have hope. I think if you just realize that you are excuse me, you are far more capable than you possibly imagine.
Mhm.
And you can do anything you want. And
Mm.
it's really up to you what you choose to do. And don't give up. Just it's a good world. It's a tough world, but it's a good world, and you have far more control over yourself than you can possibly imagine. There's no such thing as a victim. Nobody else is causing your problems, and therefore only you can fix your problems. And you can fix any problem you got.
That makes us all very super powerful.
We are indeed.
Thank you for that. Thank you for the reminder. And for those who've never heard that, I know you've planted a seed.
Good.
All right, wanderers. Well, that concludes another week of wandering. What a great time we've had together. Super appreciate all of you. Thank you for being here with us tonight. We look forward to having you again next week. Until then, be good to yourself and be good to each other. We'll see you all then. Good night.
Have a good one.